Dr. Barker here with Integrative Pain and Wellness Center. And if you haven't already watched my video on how to release negative emotions, I would encourage you to watch that video first. This is going to be a guided meditation walking you through this process. Okay, so for this practice, basically I'll give you a quick reminder to release a negative emotion. You only need awareness and intention. Okay, so awareness is just acknowledging, identifying, or accepting that you're feeling a negative emotion. And then your intention is to let go, release that emotion without resisting. So it requires a surrender of that emotion. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk you through identifying an emotion. So that we're going to be in the head to identify an emotion. Then we get out of the head, drop down into the body, and we identify what and where we feel that emotion, what it feels like and where at. So an emotion can cause a wide variety of symptoms in the body from head to toe. I'll name a few: from numbness to tingling to tightness to pain to pressure to a hollow or empty feeling to something in the pit of our stomach, butterflies, nausea, loss of appetite, chest tightness, hard taking a breath, sensation to cry, heart rate change, temperature change, or like a lump in the throat. So you identify what and where that emotion feels like, and then you just surrender. You allow those uncomfortable feelings, and that emotion only has a certain amount of energy behind it. So you're allowing that emotion to just run its course, and it should only take a matter of seconds, maybe to a minute or 2 minutes for one emotion to pass through. So for this guided exercise, I encourage you to get into a relaxed state, seated, laying down, it's okay, just be comfortable. Be somewhere where you're not going to get interrupted, especially when you're first learning to do this technique. It helps to not have a lot of stimuli going around. You can get to the point with practice where you can do this anywhere. So driving in the car, I've released emotions while driving in the car. I was driving, wife and daughter were in the car, we were in and out of conversation, and I was processing some emotions. So this can be learned to do anywhere, but when you're first starting, helps to be quiet and calm. Okay, so think of a specific event, a single event that you feel negative emotions when it pops into your mind. It could be an argument. It could be a physical trauma like a car accident or breaking a bone or a bad fall. It could be, somebody that has wronged you. Maybe they stole some money from you, or said something mean behind your back. So, or even the loss of a loved one. Okay, so try to pick a single event, one that's preferably not a group of many similar events, just for this particular exercise, because each time that we generate negative emotions, we tend to generate 5 distinct emotions. So what we're going to do is bring the memory of the experience to our mind just long enough to grab onto one emotion. And then once you have one emotion, drop into the body. We're going to identify the emotion and then surrender to it until you feel just any kind of diminishing in the symptoms. So it may, whatever symptoms of chest tightness or muscle tightness, it may fully resolve when you release one emotion, or may just get a little better. If it gets a little better, it means you've released that emotion, but there is other emotions connected to that one that are connected to those bodily sensations. So then you go back to the mind, you grab another emotion, and then repeat. So we're going to do this for 5 separate emotions. So go ahead, close your eyes, and let's take just a couple deep breaths in, and then a sighing exhale. So try to let go of any tension that you're holding in your body. One more breath in. Okay, so now the experience, the negative experience that you have chosen, bring it into your mind just long enough to grab one emotion. Start with the emotion that is the strongest, or the one that sticks out in your mind the most, whether that be anger or frustration or grief or heartache. And it's okay if you may name the emotion different than what I would name the emotion. That part is totally irrelevant. It's just that you're identifying something. Whatever you choose to call it is okay. So you have your one emotion. Now get out of your head. You're not analyzing the emotion. You're not judging the emotion. You're not worried about why that emotion is there, or creating any kind of story about the emotion. Drop down into the body and identify where and what that emotion feels like. Okay, so start scanning your body head to toe, identifying any areas of tightness, tension, pain, or any organ related sensations, or a lump in the throat, sensation to cry. Once you've identified that emotion physically in the body, you are going to become the observer of that emotion happening in your body. So if you've identified that emotion, you're probably noticing that the physical sensations connected to that emotion are starting to diminish. Okay, so let's go back up to our mind and to the experience that we're processing right now, and grab the next emotion. Okay, so whatever other emotion still seems to be connected, we're on the second of 5 emotions that we'll be processing in this way. So now that you have your second emotion, again, get out of the head, get back into the body. And a little trick, if you're having a hard time identifying it in your body, it's because it has been suppressed and repressed. And our body subconsciously will tighten up wherever that emotion would have been experienced. So if you're having a hard time identifying where and what the emotion feels like in the body, you can tell your body, just in your mind, just say, it is safe to feel this emotion of anger or grief or whatever the emotion is. You're giving your body permission to stop keeping that emotion out of your conscious awareness, which allows that emotion to rise to the surface and be identified and surrendered to. Okay, so if that emotion now, if you felt some kind of decrease or diminish in the symptoms connected to our second emotion, we'll go back to the event in the mind and grab the next strongest emotion. We're on the third of the 5. So then go back into the body and identify this third emotion in the body. It may feel similar to where you were feeling one of the first 2 emotions, or may feel uniquely different. Sometimes you may feel some conscious or subconscious resistance to letting go of the emotion, like you're very attached to it. And so some things that help me to get into that state of surrender, one is having my palms facing up. And so my palms facing up, just resting on my knees or on my legs, my lap. And that state of surrender, of being open, helps me to stay in that state of surrender and openness. And then another thing that you can tell your body in your mind, if you're having a hard time letting go of an emotion, is you can say in your mind, it is safe to feel this emotion, and I let go of this emotion. Verbalizing that surrender, that letting go of the emotion, either out loud or in your mind, of I release this anger, or I release this grief, can sometimes help to facilitate that surrender of that emotion. Okay, hopefully you were able to identify that third emotion, and now we're going to go back to the memory and pick the next emotion that is most predominant. And again, you don't have, it doesn't have to be, there's not like a right or wrong answer. You know, if you think about within anxiety could be a wide variety of emotions. So there's anxiety, there's lack of control, there's helplessness, there is overwhelm, there's fear, there's panic, there's terror. So all of those emotions have a similar feel. So if you had already released anxiety and you're still feeling like something that feels like anxiety, pick one of those other anxiety related emotions and use that one as your fourth emotion. And it could, same thing for anger. So anger and frustration and bitterness and hatred and rage, those all have a similar feel. Okay, so grab the fourth emotion, and then we're getting out of the head back into the body and identifying where and what that one feels like, and going into that state of surrender to be the observer of this emotion happening in your body and allowing it to pass through you. Okay, so we have one more emotion left. If this was a single isolated event, you would anticipate 5 emotions. So go back to the experience in the mind, try to come up with at least one other emotion, and then let's get back into the body and get back into that state of surrender to allow that emotion to pass through us. Most emotions are experienced in the trunk, the abdomen, the chest, or even the head and neck. But we do occasionally, we'll feel the emotions down into the arms or into the legs. Most of the emotions cause an increase in sensation. Depression tends to cause a decrease or diminish in physical sensation and is often experienced more as a numbness, emptiness, hollowness. So identify this last emotion and go back into that state of surrender, become the observer, and allow that emotion to flow through you. Okay, as you feel that last emotion kind of passing through you and you're letting go of it, we can open the eyes again, and you just processed the 5 emotions from one event. So just give yourself some gratitude and be thankful for the time that you just spent of letting go of these emotions. This is such a powerful tool, such a powerful thing, because when you have truly released the emotions from an event, you can look back at that event emotionally unattached. And that's where you can really do the deep self-reflection and learn from it. It is not the memory of an experience that is painful. It is the emotions connected to the memory that causes us all the pain. So as soon as the quicker you can let go of these emotions, the less pain that you're going to experience from past negative experiences. So I would encourage you to do this readily and freely, and learn to do it where you can do it in any situation that may arise. Now, if you are still feeling some emotions around the event, it may be because that event that you chose is part of a group of events, or that event that you were releasing brought to the surface other related events that your subconscious has kind of identified connected some way to this one. They were triggered within you. So if you are still feeling some negative emotions, I would encourage you to continue to go to identify one emotion at a time and then surrender within the body to let those emotions go. And if you're doing this for a group of events, you would keep going until one of three things happens. Either you reach a state of peace, or you run out of time, or you're physically or mentally exhausted. So if one of those three things happen, take a break, come back to it when you're fresh. It may be later that day, it may be, a few days down the road, and just repeat. Go back to the event and group of events and keep going until one of those three things occur. When you finish, because you've reached a state of peace, I would encourage you to come back to it one last time when you're fresh. It may be, the next day or two. Come back to that group of events while fresh, and if you can bring up those events to mind and you are still at a state of peace, then move on to something different. So please practice this and see how it can help you in your life, and leave some comments below on your experience during this guided meditation, or as you incorporate this type of emotional release into your daily life. I would love to hear your experiences. Thank you so much.